I wanted to show you what typical Cape Cod natural soil looks like. I've lived on the Cape most of my life, and it's a very sandy soil, but it's also very rich in nutrients. It really is a nice soil. And I had bought some geraniums, and I haven't been able to buy potting soil for some reason. So what I was doing was taking some of my outdoor pots that I had trees or perennials or maybe daylilies in that had either died off or I cut the plants back, and so these pots had dirt in them. And what I did a couple of days ago was dump that out on the ground in the backyard. And once I did that, I could see whether or not I could reuse the soil. And let me take you outside and show you what I mean. This is what I mean by an old plant root ball that was in outdoor pots. And on this one, you can see it really is full of roots. This was bamboo that I ended up cutting back. So what I'm going to do with that is I can shake the root ball until all the dirt falls off and all that's left is roots. But as you can see, that soil is a mix of soil and perlite, and looks like a commercial mix that I planted the bamboo in. Over here is an area where I had dumped 3 of those. I had 3 containers. Those are, I think, 2-gallon containers, and I had 3 that were similar to the larger ones there. And I got very discouraged with one of them because when I dumped it out, there were termites all through it. So I knew I wasn't going to use that soil. And the other one had plenty of earthworms in it, so that's good. And the third one was just mostly sandy soil right here. And this is our Cape Cod soil. You can see this yard is it's Kentucky bluegrass, but it's also a few other grasses mixed in, dandelions. This is your typical Cape Cod grass, unless you have a manicured lawn or sod or something. But if you just have natural grass, it looks like this. And this soil, as you can see, it's got rocks in it, but those help with drainage. It's even probably got some seashells in it because they end up getting cracked and broken and used and thrown around. And it's dark in color. Now, pure sand, such as what's on the surface here, see how light that is? That's a very light sand, and that ends up on the surface. In certain areas you can see that it's more prevalent than in others. But this has a dark color to it. And this is actually rich in nutrients. This has a soil mixed in with the sand. So this was wonderful to find this, because this, with all the rocks, even with old drying roots, these, as long as they're not grass roots, you don't want grass in your soil, because then you'll end up with a pot of grass. Over there, I had a more commercial mix, and that was the one that had hundreds of termites come out of it. When termites emerge from a nest, they have wings, and they fly like little whirligigs that all go up in the air, and that's what happened with that pot. And then the third pot was over there, and it was kind of a mix of a commercial soil and Cape Cod soil. So this is what natural Cape Cod soil looks like. This is good stuff, because the sand helps with drainage. You don't have to fertilize as much as you would think. You can grow almost anything in this. If you were going to grow tomatoes or peppers or any vegetable where you might want more nutrients, you would add a little bit of topsoil. But herbs do wonderfully in this. Cacti, succulents, these are hostas and daylilies, all in natural soil, and they all do beautifully. That's bittersweet that's climbing up the wall, and English ivy. All of these plants just thrive in this soil. Now these small plants are an example of how I've added topsoil. I have these in a rich soil mix. These are lavender and rosemary. And I'm not sure if I'll keep them in the smaller pots as they get big, or if I'll put them in the ground for the summer. I'm not sure yet. But you can see I have them in a much richer soil. Sorry, that was a bee, and I'm allergic to bees. There's been a big one around here today. Sedums, I have to weed, but that is a sedum, and it also does wonderfully in the soil I was just showing. So after you remove the old plant from the pot, shake it if you have to loosen off the soil, or dump it out like I did on the others and spread the soil out. Then I left it out there for a day, so all the worms could go down into the ground, all the termites could fly away. I knew what soil I wasn't going to use, which is what had the termites in it. And then what I did was sort through what used to be a bigger pile there and take in what I wanted to take in. I had a few geraniums to pot up. And this is even darker and richer than what I was just showing you out there, because the sun hasn't dried this. This is in a bucket. But this, I just potted up 3 geraniums and put them in a tub of water, so, you know, to soak for a little while so they could be watered. When you repot, you do that. And they took up the water within like a half an hour. They're fully damp. And that's amazing. And that's the beauty of our soil here on Cape Cod. These are some of the geraniums that I had potted up. These I had actually potted up yesterday, and they're in a mix of commercial soil and sand, and I had run out, which is why I was looking to buy potting soil. These had been in 3-inch pots, and now they're in 4-inch pots. And I wanted to explain that I started these from seed back in January, probably, maybe February, and no, it would have been January. And they're not very big. This is June, and when you start from seed, a lot of times you're heading for 2-year plants. You want to winter them over so that on the 2nd year they're blooming earlier, they're much sturdier. But when you repot a plant and you have a 3-inch pot, you would turn the pot upside down and tap the bottom to get the plant and the root ball out, hopefully in one big section. And then you put about this much soil, new soil, in the pot, place your 3-inch pot seedling into the 4-inch pot, and then fill around it with the new soil, and then take the whole pot, new pot, and put it in water up to about here, and let it soak until the top is damp. This one is dried out a little bit already, but this is still damp. Now these are indoors on the windowsill. I potted them up yesterday, and this is a south-facing window, but they're on the windowsill instead of outside because many plants, the battery gave out there. I was saying when you repot them, almost all plants go into a little bit of a shock. So if I had repotted these yesterday like I did, and then put them outside even yesterday afternoon, today has been 70 degrees and full sun all day, they would be wilting. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to put any excess stress on a plant when you repot it. So they're on the windowsill at least for today. And if it cools off tonight, if I check the weather forecast and tomorrow's going to be cloudy, would be perfect, because then I can put them out in their south-facing location, but it'll be cloudy, so they won't get full sun for a couple of, like from yesterday to tomorrow is at least a couple of days. they're not getting bright full sun. And all transplants will do better if you take those few steps of not putting them in full sun right after you've repotted them.